I'm gonna be honest, I do not understand the hype around Mario Kart Wii. I mean, for years I've been thinking this, and honestly, a mall is a cringy theme for a course, and Funky Kong is not a cool character. Is what I would say if Mario Kart Wii wasn't probably my favorite console game of all time. You listen here, I don't care what Nintendo tries to do with the franchise. Nothing's gonna top the atmosphere that they managed to create on the Wii's installation of the series. Okay, yes, I am aware of a generational bias going on here, because me and my entire generation were raised on the Wii, and Mario Kart was one of the first games we probably played. But regardless, I am only one of a whole army of people who agree that this game is a masterpiece, and it's undeniable. And one thing that has been always universally loved about the game, outside of just the gameplay obviously, is the music. Because as far back as I can remember, YouTubers and streamers have been using this soundtrack as a way to supplement their videos and streams. It has just always felt like this OST is looming over your head, and you can't really ever get away from it. So it's because of that phenomenon that we're going to take a look at what exactly made this soundtrack such an important part of the internet's culture. Let me try to paint you a picture real quick. So it's Christmas morning in 2010, and you and your parents both know exactly what one of those presents might contain. It might contain a Nintendo Wii, and when you actually did get your hands on it, it was a magical feeling. I am lucky to have lined up my early gaming experiences with probably the most dreamlike and fun years of your life, and I'm also very lucky to have those experiences be with an objectively successful and fun console like the Wii. I've talked about this before time and time again, but I think it really boils down to the atmosphere that the Wii provides. At the end of the day, every game that came out of the Wii, even the menus, have a mystifying energy that made it fun for the whole family. We aren't here to just gush about the Wii, we're here for the Mario Kart game that was released on it, and it did not disappoint. This was probably the game I played the most on it as a kid, and I have only the fondest memories of this game. So without further ado, I want to take a look at exactly why this game is how it is. Mario Kart was originally named Mario Kart X, actually. What's funny about it is that the game only came about because of the fact that Hideki Kono, the lead director of Mario Kart 64, wanted to make a steering wheel for the Wii. And after seeing that the wheel idea had promise, they decided to pair the Mario Kart franchise with it, and thus the first course was created as a concept. This first course was actually an early concept of the Bowser's Castle level from the Special Cup. Despite being very crude, it was close to the version that we see in the final game. Speaking of which, this Bowser's Castle from this game actually has the most unique and fleshed out theme from any Bowser's Castle we had seen in the series thus far. Let's take a look at it. Wait, first things first, play that again? Okay, yeah, I did hear that right. I don't know if I'm just, losing grip or not, but doesn't the beginning of that sound kind of familiar? I don't know, but to me that kind of sounds like a remixed version of that original castle theme. And this is super important to point out, because when a video game composer adds in obviously retro sounding lines, they are doing it on purpose, whether it's to nod to previous work or to garner a nostalgic feeling from the listeners. It's a power that some abuse. But this Bowser's Castle theme is super interesting, not even just because of that, but because of the fact that it is so different from the horrifying and dark sounds that accompanied the original Bowser's Castles. I mean, listen to this. I mean, for a kid's game from 1996, that is some scary stuff, man. I mean, this does not kid around at all. The chorus in the background, the church organs, the weird little bassy track they have going on, it's, very different compared to what we just heard. And then if you fast forward to Mario Kart on the Game Boy Advance, they went with some kick-ass metal. Compare these with the impending doom of the church organs, sub bass, and 808s on the Wii, and you get a pretty clear idea that these themes were only getting better as time went on. And that's not to downplay how good the old themes were. I just think when the composer sat down to make the Wii version, they had more of a character in the actual song in mind, and the composition that happened on the Wii had much more of a fleshed out sound. But anyway, we can assume the actual racing in the game was done by February of 2008, because the staff ghost times were finalized at that point. So with the game done, all Nintendo had to do was release it, and that's exactly what they did. By April of 2008, the game was released in most, if not all, countries. What's really interesting though is how the game's history made its way into the final cut. I mean, look at Coconut Mall, for example. There's a reflection in a random window that has a different version of the course in it and reveals an early version of the level. God knows how anyone found that out. But let's not just gloss over this course, because this level has exploded in popularity over the years, and that isn't for no reason at all. And unlike with Bowser's Castle, this theme stands on its own, with no previous versions to look at or compare to, and honestly, that isn't such a bad thing. Let's have a listen. Needless to say, you can really feel the energy just emanating off of this song right off the bat. Nothing really compares to it in terms of fast-paced, energetic, and exciting soundtracks. And it's not offensively dominated by synths or heavy 808s or anything like that. But yeah, starting in April of 2008, Mario Kart hit massive audiences. And not to mention, around the same time, the public servers went live, and these were a massive hit, with custom tracks and online tournaments sweeping the world. Okay, but that's enough history for now. What I want to do is really take a look at what this music is and take a fine-tuned look at some of these songs. Okay, but first, let's talk about a huge aspect of the game's OST, and that is the new feature that was revamped, retro tracks. Yes, this was a big deal, and I'm honestly surprised that it didn't come sooner. This brought a whole new atmosphere to these tracks, especially the much older ones, and it doesn't get older than the remaster of Ghost Valley 2, where Nintendo really managed to bring out the creepiness of the track with the vibrato on that fading synth. And really orchestrating the bass line makes it rumble and just feel like a big, scary deal. I mean, honestly, looking back on this track is pretty interesting because it's a very scary track to race on, and without the context of driving along that wooden rickety course, it's honestly terrifying, and this remaster brought out all of the aspects that made it just so scary. Take the Game Boy Advance track, Battle Course 3, where on the Wii, the track is much more layered and you can clearly hear all of the instruments much better. I would definitely say that this track is an underrated gem of both games, honestly, and I'm really glad that they took the time to remaster these tracks for the Wii version. Admittedly, it would have been really cool if they had remastered the newer games' OSTs, like the GameCube, but whatever we got is perfect, and the remasters were still incredible. Okay, but now we'll go on to the music from the Wii tracks, and trust me, we got plenty to look at here. Okay, wait, last thing. First, before I forget, I want to take a second to really appreciate the options menu music, which you have undoubtedly heard in most of my previous videos. I mean, come on, they had no reason to go that hard with an options menu track. I mean, it is undoubtedly one of my favorite, no, it's probably my favorite track on the OST, if I'm gonna be honest with myself. Okay, seriously, no more interruptions, we're gonna look at the Wii music now. Okay, the first one I want to talk about is actually Rainbow Road. I know we're going to start big here. This track is, hands down, no debate, I will fight a war in the comments over it, the best Rainbow Road theme we've ever heard. I mean, if it's good enough for DaBaby, it's good enough for me. Let's go. No, but seriously, the feeling this gives racers while they plummet to earth in a fiery ball is just magical. What I think it does so well is that unlike a lot of Mario Kart tracks, it really allows itself to be introduced before it launches you into an action-packed adventure. I mean, you really start to feel that suspense and the energy building. And once you do get launched, it manages to keep you captivated with its dreamy and orchestral-backed piano sounds and killer drumming. And it's no secret that if you've been on my channel for a while, you've heard this song before, because I love it and its energy. Alright, But the next important track to me is Toad's Factory, and that is because to me this represents a whole category of Mario Kart Wii music that is super pivotal in creating the game's atmosphere. In this category, we have your Wario's Gold Mines, your DK Snowboard Crosses, your Coconut Malls, tracks that are intended to invoke a very specific feeling and are associated with a very specific setting. I chose Toad's Factory specifically just because it is a banger, yes, but also I already talked about Coconut Malls, so you know, I can't talk about it again. But regardless, this track definitely gives you that groovy and industrial feeling with its brass section and its radio grain piano bass. But a jazzy and groovy track really drives the factory feeling home and nails the atmosphere, and that goes for all these types of tracks where Nintendo wanted you to feel a certain setting's vibe. So the last song I want to talk about is actually Daisy Circuit's theme. Now I know this kind of seems like a weird track to randomly bring up as one of the 5 tracks to represent this entire OST, but just trust me, bro. Similarly to Toad's Factory, I think Daisy Circuit represents a category of the OST that honestly answers our overarching question the best. This category of songs are the best background music for anything you're working on and are perfect for accompanying you on a pleasant joyride, or at least enhance a more upbeat and bright atmosphere. These tracks are your Luigi and Mario Circuits, your Maple Treeways, your Moonview Highways, etc. And if you still don't believe me, just take a listen to that melody that plays in the middle of the song. I mean, how could you not just be floating away listening to this? You know, I've covered a lot of serious topics on my channel. I talk about a lot of music that takes itself very seriously, but time to time, you just want to get slapped in the face with some feel-good stuff. And this is what I love to listen to when I'm playing on stream or anything like that. Speaking of which, this is my Twitch plug. If you haven't followed my Twitch yet, you should definitely go do that. I'm going to be streaming there much more, and I think you'd like to see me play some video games. But I think with everything we've gone over so far, we can finally answer the question that I posed in the title of this video. When will we forget about Mario Kart Wii's soundtrack? I know some of you probably thought I meant that in a negative way because I, pulled the bait and switch on you in the beginning, but I think the answer to that question is never. I don't see me or anyone else stopping using these tracks on stream or in videos, and I don't think it will ever be outdone as the perfect music to listen to or to race to or to play to. This is a soundtrack that is really close to my heart, and I know it's close to a lot of other people's hearts, and I don't think it will ever be topped, like I said in the beginning of this video. So I think that answers our question sufficiently. Never. We will never forget about it.
Let's go. Back in the middle.